So we all came here on our own because we are local. So now we're just awaiting the arrival of the press corps, the arrival of the president's motorcade. We know from our chest he passed through his confidence not so long ago, so we're expecting him any minute now. We haven't been given a firm indication of the length of the president's remarks here. As we wait for that, I think my photographer Corey can show you the podium, which is now fully set up here. You can see the Braga Bridge and Fall River in the background. They've got Somerset, Massachusetts signs, so big day for this little town of about 18,000 people here on the south coast. It's going to be really the face of the future of energy policy in America if the Biden administration has anything to say about it. Somerset, of course, as we've been saying, the reason we're here at Breaking Point is because this was the biggest coal-fired power plant in New England for years and years, and it is now slowly but surely converting, and after some fits and starts, being converted into a major site for wind energy. An Italian company has signed a lease or some sort of deal so that they're going to use some of the space here to build the underground cables that are going to run power from these huge industrial-scale offshore wind farms back to the mainland, where they'll come into the regional power grid. Now I think Corey's panning back over to, we can see the flashing lights of what I have to assume from my vantage point out here at the speech site are the motorcade, which would be, of course, President Biden, but his staff is traveling with him. But we also know that Congressman Hawkinsboss, who represents Somerset, as well as Congressman Keegan, who represents nearby Fall River and New Bedford, along with Senators Warren and Markey, I believe, are both in that. And I believe Rhode Island Senators Jack Reed and Sheldon Whitehouse joined the motorcade. At least I know Sheldon Whitehouse is expected to. And that makes sense because two of the senators traveling with President Biden today for the speech in Somerset are two of the most vocal and aggressive Democrats in the Senate when it comes to pushing for action on climate change. Markey, Sheldon Whitehouse argues he's second to no one on that issue, but Markey sometimes has called for even bigger steps than Whitehouse has called for to prevent climate change. They've disagreed, for example, on whether the Green New Deal is achievable. Markey working with Alexander Ocasio-Cortez on that. Whitehouse is expected to be shoulder to shoulder here, supporting the president as he tries to talk about the fact that the White House can take executive action. And that's something the White House has to.
Did they not mark it up?
And it appears that
White House rotates still.
Senator Whitehouse has urged President Biden to go into, quote, executive beast mode, arguing
I think we were told no shade.
looking into the options he has to address climate change, whatever those may be. We think we might hear some of that here, but again, early in the week, the wide speculation in Massachusetts politics was that Biden is coming here to Somerset to announce a additional emergency. No sign the White House is ready to go that far today, and some of my sources have indicated that things were a little in flux in the last 48 hours as this trip got in rather last minute. We only found out about it, broke the news that he was coming on 12 News at 11 back on Monday night. So less than 48 hours have we been aware that the president would be landing in Rhode Island and making his way over here to the South Coast. So as I continue to chat with you about what the situation is, we were keeping an eye past our media at the podium, waiting to see the Suburban, which is set of large gas guzzling vehicles. View of that map, waiting to see whether it will come through. Now, I don't know how many of you have ever been down here at Breaking Point, power plant, but really there's a large empty scrapyard here. I think Corey's camera can give you a sense there behind the podium. It's just sort of derelict. It's a beautiful spot looking out over the bay. We see sailboats going by, Braga Bridge looking majestic out there in Fall River, as always, looking stately and the wonderful city that it is. But the site itself is, I would say, nothing to write home about at the moment. The White House hoping that will be changing soon as these wind energy projects begin to breathe more life into Breaking Point. And I don't know how many of you follow Somerset politics closely, but this has been, Breaking Point's been a very divisive issue in recent years. It's hard to overstate how important Breaking Point has been to Somerset for many years now. In its years as the biggest coal-fired plant in England, huge sources of revenue for the town. And of course, when it was shut down, evidence of distribution, that also we're going to stay at this site for that one. But in drove into Breaking Point, saw the signs from neighbors who live here saying that they didn't want things that they are doing to be along the waterfront here in such a pristine spot.
Oh, yeah.
It was a recall election for the council and turned over. So a lot. Breaking Point has had a big impact in many ways down here, not really political. So we continue to dig into where the president. Remember, it's just a one-lane road, literally Breaking Point Road is what leads you off of 135 down here to the coast. And so that is the president, of course, unlike us on our way into Edith Point, not much of a trouble since they were closing as we came through there. So, Mike, we're waiting a sign that the president's travels here. He may also be speaking this week over there. But certainly they got a very hot day, but
I just wanted to make
approaching
sure
90 degrees out here, but there is a nice breeze off the bay, which is our one saving grace at the moment.
You said you're not getting audio right now?
Yeah, they're going to be streaming this, so yeah, we'll just make sure that they're there. All right, thanks a lot.
Well, no, we've already done a bunch, I think.
That's a great point, Mike. Yeah. The White House wants to argue that, and their supporters in Congress want to argue that, it can be a win-win with the transition in energy from fossil fuels to clean energy. This is a perfect example. They say there'll be jobs from that Italian company that's going to be building the undersea cables here at Breaking Point. People, of course, will need technicians who will be out servicing these huge industrial offshore wind farms. See another coming like the president's vehicle. So I think that's him quite yet. But he has to be close by. And they are, the White House, not behind schedule or anything because they had set 2:45 as the start of the speech. But yeah, the White House wants to argue it can be a win-win. Telling reporters that this is a crisis, and they're pointing to the news of the day. We saw earlier this week London broke its all-time historic record for heat. I think the estimate today is over 100 million Americans are under heat advisory. Right, we have another SUV here opening its doors to troops out there. Local officials here, local state legislators getting on. There's some dignitaries who are making their way down to a big speech today. The federal folks are still making their way through with President Biden in the motorcade. These are a bunch of South Coast state lawmakers who are coming down. With the president, it's funny, you can see headlines all the time about the president. We know President Biden's approval rating has been in the 30s in most surveys that I've seen nationally, but he is coming to kind of the heart of the Democratic base up here in southern New England, Massachusetts, one of the biggest percentages of vote in the 2020 election, where I'm also a strong state for Biden. Some state lawmakers trooping through, getting in place, which is likely a signal that we can see the folks on the motorcade come through shortly to sort of fill in the seats here. Not a huge number of seats, not expecting a huge audience. Anybody who's going to be sitting out there isn't any shade out here right now, so it's going to be a hot one for the various dignitaries, state lawmakers. Expect federal to be right. We've also seen times when politically a Democratic president is nationally, they often will pop up to New England where they're usually sitting up there. I should say, my colleague saw protesters protesters closer to here earlier in the day, so not to say by any means he's been universally welcome, but of course, in the end, the votes are what they are. We know the election's going. I remember Bill Clinton came here during and after the mob in Worcester, where he got a big reception at a time where there weren't a lot of places the White House wanted to send him. The other thing is just logistically, as you said, this is about a 4-hour trip. because of course it doesn't take that long to go from Washington to Massachusetts and get back to Washington in time for dinner. So wait for the president to, show something concrete representing that he wants to see the transition here at Brady Point for wind energy, and then also can, be at the White House in the morning, be at the White House in the evening, and still have made a spot out here. So undoubtedly a big day for the South Coast, a big day for Somerset. I tend to think there might be a little jealousy on the Rhode Island side of the border, which, of course, Rhode Island had the wind farm, the small demonstration project that's operating on Block Island, and the hope way back with Governor Kucheri was that Rhode Island would be the frontrunner for offshore wind. But the Baker administration and Mayor Mitchell and Westford, certainly local officials, dads, have made a huge effort to position the South Coast as a place that'll be a staging area. And I have put that idea of a rivalry between background and Massachusetts on to some officials, and they say they do think there's going to be, they hope, because to support this, enough work that both states get opportunity that could come from that. So, as we continue to put a little time on the air here, the president will keep an eye out for more activity. So, basically, when you hit the gates of Brady Point, there was an initial parking lot staging area. That's where we all went through Secret Service checks. Each of us got out of our cars, dogs were sleeping, the cars, went through everything. Then all the assembled press corps left our cars out there in the initial parking lot and were bussed out to here on the literal point of Brady Point, which is where we are now and waiting for the president to arrive with the other dignitaries to give his climate speech today. So we have another slow-moving van approaching us. We'll see which officials we will find coming out of this one. I expect at some point it'll include the local congressman, Jake the senators from around Massachusetts. White House Jack Reed. I should say again that I didn't get confirmation that Reed was definitely the president has known Jack Reed a long time. They served in the Senate together for over a decade. When Joe Biden was picked for vice president by Barack Obama, Jack Reed was also a finalist that year in 2008. So there's more officials getting on. Travelers getting I'd expect, I don't know this for sure, but one of these vans is going to have the officials from Brady Point, the company that owns Brady Point. Now, our colleague Dave Walsh spoke to them earlier today, and we were talking about the plans for this. That was, yes, okay, my contact confirms to me that was indeed one of the people now on Brady Point. All clubs in recent years.
They haven't turned it on yet.
And I don't know, talking to the control room there, if we have available the explosion video, but while we wait, okay, we do, I'm told. Well, if they cue that up, I mean, I'd say the last time Brayton Point got anywhere near this attention was back in 2019. As I know if you watching remember, it was two huge cooling towers that loomed over Mount Hope Bay for only about a decade. That were put there to fire were imploded in spectacular fashion. Corey, I think you were here that morning. I think I've seen your comment on shared it on social media yesterday. And I put it to one political source that you were arguing that explosion video represented the White House's legislative plans for climate change. They're still holding out some hope, I think, that if inflation comes down, if the unemployment rate,
it's great.
Senator
Mitch at the 206
would agree to some modest climate legislation to the White House, and Democrats like Sheldon Whitehouse and prioritize climate change.
Okay, all right, I'll try it again.
About those talks with leadership last week. So they're kind of in between here, and I think that's part of why today came about so late, and why, as I was saying at the top of the broadcast here, we thought he might announce a national climate emergency, which would be a form of executive action, might give him some more powers around tackling climate change, but really certain things being announced today. Modest measures, expanding cooling centers with the heat waves that we're experiencing today. It is, as I said, very hot down here. It's not 90 yet. It's right around there. There's a little bit of a breeze, so not asking for your sympathy. Just speaking to the heat with the sun there. So, trying to straighten my camera. You're all getting a better look than me, honestly.
Did you do an audio check?
There. do security. And you know, I've covered some of these sorts of things before. I am just guessing.
Audio
that
check.
the cost of
1, 2,
equipment will be
3,
doing
4.
some
Audio
quick
test.
meet and greets
1,
with
2,
folks.
3, 4.
Audio test, press give me a thumbs up when you're good. Audio test, 1, 2, 3, 4. Howard, are you good yet?
It's good. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you for your patience of sitting out here. Appreciate it. Please have a seat if you have one. Well, hello, Massachusetts. It's an honor to be with you, outstanding members of Congress today. Senator Ed Markey. Ed, there you go. Senator Elizabeth Warren, Congressman Auchinclaw, Sauce, where is she? There you go, Jake. Bill Keating, Congressman, and your great former members, my dearest friends. John Kerry is doing a great job leading our international special presidential envoy on climate, traveling the world and talking with an awful lot of people. He's talking into moving more than they've been doing. And another great Massachusetts native, Gina McCarthy. Gina, there she is. My national climate advisor is leading our climate efforts here at home. It's an honor to be joined by your neighbor from Rhode Island. He's not a bad guy at all. I live in his house, Sheldon Whitehouse, a great champion of the environment. He's been banging away at it. I come here today with a message. As president, I have a responsibility to act with urgency and resolve when our nation faces clear and present dangers. And that's what climate change is about. It is literally, not figuratively, a clear and present danger. The health of our citizens and our communities is literally at stake. The UN's leading international climate scientists call the latest climate report nothing less than, quote, code red for humanity. Let me say it again. Code red for humanity. It's not a group of political officials, elected officials. These are the scientists. We see it here in America, in red states and blue states. Extreme weather events costing $145 billion. $145 billion in damages just last year. More powerful and destructive hurricanes and tornadoes. I've flown over the vast majority of them out west and down in Louisiana, all across America. It's amazing to see. Ravaging 100-year-old droughts occurring every few years instead of every 100 years. Wildfires out west that have burned and destroyed more than 5 million acres. Everything in its path. That is more land than the entire state of New Jersey, from New York down to the tip of Delaware. It's amazing. 5 million acres. Our national security is at stake as well. Extreme weather is already damaging our military installations here in the States, and our economy is at risk. So we have to act. Extreme weather disrupts supply chains, causing delays and shortages for consumers and businesses. Climate change is literally an existential threat to our nation and to the world. So my message today is this. Since Congress is not acting as it should, and these guys here are, but we're not getting many Republican votes, this is an emergency, and I will look at it that way. I said last week, and I'll say it again loud and clear. As president, I'll use my executive powers to combat the climate crisis in the absence of congressional actions, notwithstanding their incredible action. In the coming days, my administration will announce the executive actions we have developed to combat this emergency. We need to act. We just take a look around. Right now, 100 million Americans are under heat alert. 100 million Americans. 90 communities across America set records for high temperatures just this year, including here in New England as we speak. And by the way, records have been set in the Arctic and the Antarctic, temperatures that are just unbelievable, melting the permafrost. It's astounding the damage that's being done. And this crisis impacts every aspect of our everyday life. That's why today I'm making the largest investment ever, $2.3 billion, to help communities across the country build infrastructure that's designed to withstand the full range of disasters we've been seeing up to today. Extreme heat, drought, flooding, hurricanes, tornadoes. Right now, there are millions of people suffering from extreme heat at home. So my team is also working with the states to deploy $385 million right now. For the first time, states will be able to use federal funds to pay for air conditioners in homes, set up community cooling centers in schools where people can get through these extreme heat crises. And I mean people in crises that are 100 to 117 degrees. An infrastructure law that your members of Congress have delivered includes $3.1 billion to weatherize homes and make them more energy efficient, which will lower energy costs while keeping America cool in the summer and warm in the winter and not using too much energy. And my Department of Labor, led by a guy named Marty Walsh, he talks funny, he's a hell of a guy. But all kidding aside, Marty was a great mayor, and I know he knows how to get a job done. And he's doing two things for me. First of all, as Secretary of Labor, he's developing the first ever workplace standards for extreme heat, saying under these conditions that hit this, you cannot do the following. You cannot ask people to do certain things. Second, he's sending folks out from the Labor Department to make sure we hold workplaces and to those standards that are being set. They've already completed over 500 heat-related inspections of workplaces across 43 states. And at the end of the day, it's going to save lives. Now, let me tell you why we're here at Brayton Point. 5 years ago, this towering power plant that once stood with cooling towers 500 feet high closed down. The coal plant at Brayton Point was the largest of its kind in New England. 1,500 megawatts of power, enough to power 1 in 5 Massachusetts homes and businesses. For over 50 years, this plant supported this region's economy through the electricity they supplied, the good jobs they provided, and the local taxes they paid. But the plant, like many others around the country, had another legacy, one of toxins, smog, greenhouse gas emissions, the kind of pollution that contributed to the climate emergency we now face today. Gina McCarthy, a former regulator in Massachusetts, was telling me on the way up how folks used to get a rag out and wipe the gunk off of their car's windshields in the morning just to be able to drive. Not very much unlike where I grew up in a place called Claymont, Delaware, which has more oil refineries than Houston, Texas had in its region just across the line in Pennsylvania. And all the prevailing winds were our way. I just lived up the road. In an apartment complex when we moved to Delaware, and just up the road to a little school I went to, Holy Rosary Grade School. And because it was a 4-lane highway that was accessible, my mother drove us, and rather than us be able to walk. And guess what? The first frost, you know what was happening? You had to put on your windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer, and why for the longest time, Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation. But that's the past. And we're going to build a different future. With one with clean energy, good paying jobs. Just 15 years ago, America generated more than half its electricity from coal-fired plants. Today, that's down to 20% because there's a big transition happening. Many of these fossil fuel plants are becoming sites for new clean energy construction. Others are switching to new clean technologies. Look at Brayton Point. Today, Brayton is on the frontier of clean energy in America. On this site, they'll manufacture 248 miles of high-tech, heavy-duty cables. Those specialized subsea cables are necessary to tie offshore wind farms to the existing grid. Manufacturing these cables will mean good-paying jobs for 250 workers, as many workers as the old power plant had at its peak. And the port here, 34 feet deep, was used to carry coal into the power plant. Now we're going to use that same port to carry components for wind power into the sea. The converter station here and the substation nearby are the assets that move energy across the power lines. They'll now move clean electricity generated offshore by the wind. Enough power to power hundreds of thousands of homes onto the grid, putting old assets to work, delivering clean energy. This didn't happen by accident. It happened because we believed and invested in America's innovation and ingenuity. One of the companies investing in the factory here joined me at the White House this month, Vineyard Winds, whose CEO told me about the groundbreaking project labor agreements they've negotiated with create good-paying union jobs. And I want to compliment Congressman Bill Keating for his work in this area. I'm also proud to point out that my administration approved the first commercial project for offshore wind in America, which is being constructed by Vineyard Winds. Folks, elsewhere in the country, we are propelling retrofits and ensuring that even where fossil fuel plants retires, they still have a role in powering the future. In Illinois, for example, the state has launched a broad effort to invest in converting old power plants to solar farms, led by Governor Pritzker. In California, the IBEW members have helped turn a former oil plant into the world's largest battery storage facility, the world's largest facility. In Wyoming, innovators are chosen to a retiring plant as the next site for the next generation nuclear plant. And my administration is a partner in that progress, driving federal resources and funding to the communities that have powered this country for generations. And that's why they need to be taken care of as well. I want to thank Cecil Roberts, a friend and president of United Mine Workers of America, and so many other labor leaders who worked with on these initiatives. Since I took office,